Welcome to The Actual Story, the official podcast of the National Agricultural Communicators of Tomorrow. I'm your host, Lydia Hill, and I, along with the rest of the National Officer team, are here to share the voices, ideas, and stories shaping the future of agriculture and communications. Whether you're a student, professional, or simply passionate about the industry, this is your place to connect, learn, and be inspired. So without further ado, let's dive into today's actual story. Tar Tut from Faribault, Minnesota is a graduate of Texas A&M University, where he competed on the nationally recognized livestock judging team that earned reserve national champion honors. He was also named to the Collegiate Coaches Association All-American team. Before Texas A&M, Tar judged at Butler Community College, where his team won a national championship and was named Co-Team of the Year. His passion for livestock began early, showing Red Angus and Hereford cattle. He then went on to serve on the junior boards of both the Red Angus and Hereford Associations, retiring as chairman of the National Junior Hereford Association. Tar also coached from the Coryell County 4-H livestock judging team. He now works as a territory manager for Merck Animal Health in Texas and plans to pursue a PhD in youth leadership development or organizational and strategic leadership. Welcome, Tar. It's super nice to meet you. I guess go ahead and give us a little bit of a background on yourself.
Yeah, well, thanks for having me. Certainly looking forward to, giving you a little bit of unsolicited knowledge. But my name is Tar Tut. I'm originally from Faribault, Minnesota. Grew up showing Red Angus and Hereford cattle and was involved in 4-H and FFA growing up. Didn't grow up on a farm or ranch. Was very fortunate to be involved in a family that raised Red Angus and Hereford cattle and kind of took me under their wings, and that's kind of how I got my foot in the door to a lot of the organizations that I was a part of during my junior show career. With that too, I was a part of a livestock judging team in my county, which led to being on the livestock judging team collegiately. Attended Butler Community College for 2 years, where I graduated with an associate science degree in animal science and a part of that livestock judging team, and then transferred to Texas A&M, where I was a part of the livestock judging team there and received my bachelor's of science in agriculture communications and journalism with an emphasis in sales and marketing. And did the livestock judging route, loved it, really enjoyed it, met a whole bunch of people from all over the country. While at Texas A&M, I was required to have an internship for my degree and my degree plan. So during my junior year, I went to our college career fair and shopped around for internships and landed an interview with Merck Animal Health and ended up receiving that internship with Merck Animal Health and did my internship in South Dakota, North Dakota, just doing research and doing my summer project there. After my internship that summer, I was fortunate enough to be offered a full-time position where I now live in Texas and serve as a territory manager covering Northeast Texas and Southeast Oklahoma on the ruminant business unit side. So that's what I do on a day-to-day basis is just going to farms, ranches, vet clinics, feed stores, and just talking to my producers and customers and trying to help them become better stewards of their livestock.
Yeah, I love that. Sounds like you have definitely made a pretty successful way for yourself. I kind of want to circle back. You said you didn't grow up on a farm or like in agriculture and you had a family take you under their wing. How would you recommend that other young kids kind of get their foot in the door with agriculture if they have any interest in it?
Yeah, absolutely. Um, it's different everywhere. And having lived in Texas for the last 5.5 years, I've realized that 4-H is really not that big of a deal down here as it is back home in Minnesota. But FFA is a huge deal, and the FFA programs in Texas, I think, are just out of this world, so robust, and the amount of support that these FFA programs have across the state of Texas are, I think, really cool. And I would say getting involved in FFA or 4-H on the county level or even through your school is the easiest way to get your foot in the door, especially the FFA program. The amount of success stories I've heard of FFA kids who showed cattle, um, who didn't grow up on a farm, grow up on a ranch, didn't join FFA until their sophomore year of high school, um, and just kind of flourished because they knew the value of FFA and what it offered to them. um, is, I think, really cool. And I would say that's probably the easiest way to get your foot in the door is just getting involved. And I know that probably sounds very cliche, and I heard that all of my college career of get involved, get involved, get involved. But that's truly what it takes to, I think, just get your foot in the door for something you're passionate about.
Yeah, for sure. And I'm assuming that family was very supportive of you. Making a big move from Minnesota to Texas is pretty big. Did you always know that you wanted to move to Texas? Like, was A&M the school for you, or how did you end up there?
Ironically, no, I probably never had Texas pegged as a state that I would want to go to school in or move to eventually. Um, like I said, went to Butler for 2 years, and I loved my time in Kansas. I think the Flint Hills is probably one of the most beautiful places on earth. So when I moved there, I figured, man, if I could find a way to stay in Kansas, I would absolutely love it. And come my sophomore year of my judging, we typically go visit senior colleges, and I visited, I believe, 9 different senior colleges to figure out which school I wanted to go to. And ironically, A&M was not one of the schools that I wanted to go visit. And in my head, I thought, yeah, surely this would be a courtesy visit to go visit the school, show my respects to the judging coach, and my respects to the school and the program there at Texas A&M. And I ended up going during Christmas break, actually, and really just kind of fell in love with it. It was, I believe, 75 degrees, and I had just left a blizzard back home when it was like negative 20. So I thought, man, I don't like the cold. I really don't like the heat, but in the winter, if it's going to be 75 degrees and I could be outside in shorts and a t-shirt, I think I can get along with this. So I eventually um, finished all my college visits and just thought, which school in the end, if I wasn't doing collegiate livestock judging, would have the biggest impact on me in what I wanted to do in a career. And of the 9 schools, in my personal opinion, I thought Texas A&M was the only school that was able to set me up for success to the highest degree and to the level that I wanted to accomplish once I graduated.
Yeah, I think that's pretty interesting. I kind of have a similar story. Had a few opportunities to do meats judging out west, and I toured like all the Texas and Oklahoma schools. And I wanted to get off of the East Coast, and now I go to school in Georgia, and that's like where I felt like I was going to get the biggest bang for my buck when it comes to learning about studying ag communications, and that's where I felt the most at home. Doesn't mean I won't be moving out west for grad school, but that
Mhm.
was just where I ended up for undergraduate, and I'm so happy it worked out that way.
Yeah.
And with you studying ag communications, I'm pretty familiar with A&M's ag comp program. What made you choose like a focus in sales and marketing?
So I being an animal science getting a degree in animal science, an associate's degree in animal science, I was never really good at numbers or science, and I guess just numbers weren't ever really my thing. I liked being creative, and I enjoyed taking pictures, and I like connecting and meeting and talking to new people and just seeing what makes people who they are, and why they are the way they are, why they do what they do, and what they're passionate about. Um, so when I made the decision to go to A&M, I was actually enrolled as an animal science student. And midway through the summer, I was taking summer classes, and I believe it was like chemistry, biology, and a math class. And I thought, oh boy, I don't know if I'm cut out for this. And candidly, I didn't want to be miserable while being on a judging team, although 97% of my teammates were animal science. Um, I would have those students in my class, but I still wanted to feel successful and I still wanted to enjoy school and classes. So I switched my degree to agriculture communications, and honestly, it was probably the best decision I could have made. But more importantly, I think just the ability to market a um, producer's operation or customer's operation, all the while being a consultant, kind of stood out to me in my mind, and being able to put my skills to use from a marketing standpoint is ultimately what I guess solidified my decision on a sales and marketing emphasis.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, how did judging livestock apply to the role that you're in today? But you pretty much answered that question. So, kind of going off that, in your experience of, I'm assuming, judging livestock shows, I've seen that you do a little bit of that. Um, what what makes a good communicator or public speaker?
Um, I say confidence, and just being confident in not only yourself, but confident in the answers that you're giving to a crowd or presenting. I was judging a show last weekend, and whenever I'm judging showmanship, no matter where I'm at, I like to ask the exhibitors, whether it's the juniors or seniors, whatever age division. I like to ask them one question that's maybe just a little challenging, but specifically the seniors, because I feel like if you're in the senior division, I want to see that you're confident in that if you were to be approached by an animal activist group, to stand your ground and be firm in telling them why you do what you do, why you show cattle, why you raise these things, why they benefit you and the impact that they've had on your life. I like to ask these senior kids, how many steers were born in your county, or how many steers were born in the state this year or across the world. And it's usually really fun to um, ask that question, because seeing their brains work visually and the look on their face is like, okay. And I asked that question because I lost a showmanship contest because of it. And not that I use that question as envy to, I'm going to beat these kids, because I don't use it as a deciding factor, but I typically ask them, and hearing their responses and answers on maybe 50,000. And I say, okay, are you confident in that? And they look at me like, and I asked them again, are you confident? They're like, I don't know. And I say, okay, well, give me a confident answer. Say you're confident. I want you to be confident in that answer, because if I was someone from an animal activist group that approached you and asked you these types of questions, I don't want you to be shot down and kind of just burrow into a hole. I want you to stand your ground, um, and typically I kind of circle back, and when I get back on the mic, I tell the parents along ringside, I don't condone lying, but I want you to give me a confident, strong, good answer, whether it's right or wrong. I think you can still go back and kind of retrace your steps on if your answer was right or not. But um, being a good, confident speaker and staying grounded, I think, is what makes a good communicator.
That is so interesting. I always remember like when I was showing in high school, I'd get so irritated with the judges who would like ask me just like off the wall questions. I'm like that. And I'm like, what does this even have to do with
Yeah,
anything about me in the ring right now?
yeah,
But from your point of view, I think that's really interesting. And then like you take the next step to explain why you asked them that question. And, you know, thinking about being in ag communications, a lot of the times we do have to respond to those animal activist groups. So you're already setting these kids up for success. I think that's really really cool. I like that a lot.
mhm, mhm.
Um, wow, I'm stunned right now. That was so awesome. um, so when it comes to like being a good speaker, I totally agree with being confident and like knowing your stuff. And I'm also a firm believer in faking it till you make it, especially like when I was giving reasons, I just kind of prayed.
Mhm,
And I never wanted to give my reasons in a way that made the judge question if I was fully confident in my
mhm,
reasons. I totally agree with that. But also, I think like being able to speak not just speak to a crowd, but also like engage with that crowd, whoever it's with. So, like me and you are having a conversation right now.
mhm.
I try to take this setting and apply it to whoever I speak with, just so I'm not just like talking to someone, I'm talking with someone.
Right, right. No, absolutely. I would agree. And growing up, believe it or not, and I'm sure some of my friends would say that's a lie, but I was a shy kid. I tried to never just be the most out there or be the loudest in the room. But as I continued to grow and mature, um, I realized the value and connection that you can have on a deeper level with someone, whether it's face to face, whether it's a phone call, whether it's a Zoom call, or um, singling someone out in the crowd, whatever it might be. Um, the value of having that genuine connection, I think, to me, reads like someone who's an effective and a good communicator, but someone who's also genuinely interested in the conversation at hand. I think about when I got to Butler Community College, and again, still kind of shy. I was confident, but maybe not just like uberly confident. It wasn't until my judging coach just kind of sat me down and was like, "You've got what it takes. Believe in yourself. I believe in you." And that just, I feel like, opened the floodgates and allowed me to be that much more confident and allowed me to want to build those genuine connections and those genuine relationships with people that I've never met. Obviously, we've never met, and I feel like we have that genuine connection and that authentic relationship through communication, even though it's over Zoom. But it's still to me, it's really cool to just have a confident, grounded person who knows how to effectively and genuinely and authentically communicate with not only one person, but someone, I guess, who could work a crowd to say.
Yeah. And something that's been drilled in my head, like in FFA, and then once I got to college, is like network, network, network. Um, and here in this role as a national ACT officer, I've had a ton of really cool opportunities to network with people. And something I've discovered was that um, the networking and those connections aren't really valuable unless like you reach back out or even just like listening to that person. Because I feel like there's a difference between a surface level conversation and then actually listening to what that person has to say and then responding regarding what they were talking about. And that's something I'm still working on is,
Yes.
listening and picking up on keywords and being able to kind of regurgitate that, but in my own question or answer. That's been really cool for kind of see my process of growth in that. But when it comes to you, how important has networking been in your career so far?
Oh my gosh. Wow. Um, so important. And the agriculture industry is a lot smaller than we think. Whether it's just from my standpoint, I was just so enthralled by the livestock show world, and I was like, "This is my life. This is what I want to do." In my current role, I work primarily with, I want to say, the beef industry because the show world is, I don't want to say hoax, but that's just a completely side of the industry that a lot of my producers, or every single one of my producers, has no care for because they know that show cattle don't pay the bills. And I realize that too, but it's something that I love and a place that I felt like home. But in my current role, my producers know that that has nothing to do with it. But I say all that to say that, and it's a lot smaller because I I have got met someone a couple weeks ago when I was at the North American International Livestock Expo, and he ran into me and asked me where I lived, and I had never even met this guy, but he approached me. We just started talking, and he asked me where I lived, told him where I lived, and he asked me if I knew one of his customers that he sold feeder cattle to. And I was like, oh my gosh, yeah, he's actually one of my customers from a pharmaceutical side standpoint that I work with on a daily basis. And the amount of times that I've had those run ins or those interactions with folks that I've met from across the country that kind of come back into one place, into my world, I think just goes to show that not only is that networking, but if I ever wanted to have a letter of recommendation or a reference, I can lean on my network and connections that I've made, not only from a personal standpoint and people that are within my close circle, but if I had to reach out and extend outside of my network, it's it's something that's cool to me and something that I think a lot of people take for granted, um, especially I guess college age kids. And I'm only 24 years old. I've been out of college for 2.5 years, so I feel like I'm sounding like a grandpa now and just giving that unsolicited advice. But you hear that constantly throughout college, that network, network, network. But when you're put in that position when you are networking, you're like, oh my gosh, why didn't I do this sooner? I should have done this sooner. I wish I would have done it sooner. And there's times where I'm like, man, I wish I would have taken that opportunity to go here and do that. Or I wish I would have taken just 2 minutes going out of my way to go ask maybe this professor who knows someone that I know, how they met, what was that connection, and just doing that or even making that initial contact uh, could be a great foundation and a great starting point to continue to build your network.
Yeah, for sure. And I feel like I hit on networking on every single episode
Hmm.
of this podcast that I've done so far, but to hear people's like responses and like having like my guest give their real life experiences on how networking has helped them. I think that's kind of my way of proving to people like, hey, like it's definitely worth it, just to take those 2 minutes to go have a conversation with someone and step out of your comfort zone. Something I'm still working on as well, for sure, but it gets easier every single time you do it.
Yeah, and I wouldn't be in my current role right now if it wasn't for my network and the people that I've met and the connections that I've made. I remember when I applied for my internship with Merck in South Dakota and North Dakota. I didn't know who that hiring manager was. I'd never heard of her, but she shows cattle in Montana. She knew other people. She used her network of her manager team to see if anyone knew who I was. Someone else knew who I was, and they reached out to someone that knew me from the Hereford world and asked about me. And it was kind of just a circle and came back and she told me, yeah, once I asked this person, I knew that we had to have you. And a quote that sticks to me, and I tell a lot of people, good, bad, and different, I don't know, but I truly think it's so important because as someone who's an agriculture communications major, who's got very little animal science knowledge, but have used my resources and network. Um, and I'm in a a pharmaceutical field, and having to know how science works from that standpoint. I would have never thought I'd have been in an animal science pharmaceutical role. But it's not about what you know; it's about who you know. So although I don't or didn't know a lot about animal science, it was the people that I knew that allowed me the opportunities to say, okay, yeah, you can give this kid a chance because he's willing to learn and he's willing to grow and invest in his network and his relationships. I think he would be a great addition to your team.
Yeah. I kind of had a similar experience with, I work for the Georgia Department of Ag right now, part time to, fund my college. And
Hmm.
um, somebody, my bosses knew somebody that knew me. And I came into the interview and I was like, guys, I don't know the first thing about seeds or plants. Like, I grew up on a cow farm.
Hmm.
And they were like, well, we learned that, you're willing to learn and you want to know and that this can be beneficial to you. And they gave me the job over like somebody who was already had experience in the horticulture world. And I thought
Hmm.
that was really awesome. And the same thing kind of happened to me with my internship that I landed for the spring in ag policy. I was like, look, I don't know a lot about it, but I'm passionate about advocating and I want to learn how policy really works. And I just kind of want to be thrown in head first. And they were like,
Hmm.
okay, perfect. We'd love to have you. Um, and I think networking is so, so, so important. And you mentioned like getting letters of recommendation, like outside of your inner circle. For me personally, it's kind of nerve wracking to ask somebody that you've kind of made a connection with and have networked with, but like you don't consistently speak to them, to give you a letter of recommendation. What's your advice on going about that?
You know, that is a great question. And I think about here just a couple weeks ago, and even earlier this fall, I was at a career fair and there was a student that came up and approached me, was asking me questions about my role, how I got involved, and how I got my role. And like you, I don't like to have surface level conversations. I like to get deep and know. And his ability to just be genuinely interested about me and about my role, I was like, oh my gosh, like this person is really into it. Um, and he kept in contact with me for maybe about a week, just asking, continuing to ask questions and wanting to learn more about Merck and what I did. Um, and I helped him format his resume, helped him write a cover letter. And I guess I was just so impressed by him and his ability to just effectively communicate and be genuinely interested in something that I was like, I know that I'd be willing to go out on a limb and say I'm willing to write you a letter recommendation because of the kind of person you are, the way you carry yourself, your confidence. So I would say going about that. Last week, I had someone reach out to me on LinkedIn, a student reach out to me on LinkedIn and ask me if he could connect with me again to learn more about what I do in the company that I work for. Again, same situation, just very interested, and I was very, very impressed with his ability to ask questions and in wanting to learn and know more. I would be willing to write a letter of recommendation for him because of the kind of person he was, not only on our phone call, but just his authenticity throughout the entire conversation. So I would say for kids wanting to have a letter of recommendation from someone that they might not talk to regularly, I would say just reach out to them, make that initial contact. That's typically uh, the biggest hurdle to jump, as you realized. Um, and once you make that initial contact, um, asking if you could have a phone call with them or if you could have a monthly touch base with them. And then I feel like if you're able to just build your rapport with that person over time, asking them for a letter of recommendation shouldn't be too hard.
Yeah, that definitely does make sense. And I've kind of had some similar experiences, especially with people that I've met at like expos and career fairs. I found them really interesting and I kept in touch with them. How many career fairs do you like go to, like, and where are they located, like throughout the year?
Yeah, so since I'm just a territory manager, we typically just stay within our region. We go to two career fairs a year, and they're typically always in the fall. Um, my team goes to the Oklahoma State University's career fair and then Texas A&M's career fair. Since I'm kind of split in between two states, I'll go to both of them and and try to find an intern for the year or for that summer through. I think we have about 300 internships throughout
Wow.
the entire Merck name. So
That's that's pretty cool. And
yeah.
I'm sure like having 300 internships for one organization, like that's huge.
Hmm.
And also, I'm pretty familiar with Merck, so I know those interns are doing a bunch of different things, and there's a lot of different opportunities there. I'll be sure to like link Merck's information down in the bio of this episode, so if anybody's
Hmm.
interested, they can take a look. Um, Besides career fairs, like, do you go to any like trade shows and things like that? And when you go to these events, what do you brand as like an authentic conversation with a producer or a student, or what's something that makes you feel valued when you're conversing with these people?
Yeah. We go to the Texas and Southwest Cattle Raisers Convention. We go to the Oklahoma Cattle Raisers Convention, the NCBA Cattle Con. And depends on which state you're in. I believe every single one of our states, every single one of our regions or teams has a state cattlemen's convention that we all go to. Um, One thing that to me, uh, I'm big on first impressions. First impressions are everything to me. And if I can't, I know probably within the first 30 seconds how well this conversation is gonna continue to flow. I think just the way you approach somebody and ask questions is to me how I would I guess label an authentic conversation. I don't want it to feel forced, and I don't want to have to try to pull things out of thin air to keep the conversation going. If the conversation isn't flowing organically, I'm probably checked out. And moreover than anything, I kind of want to bounce questions off of each other. So say you ask me what breed of cattle I show, and I say Herefords, and you say, "Oh, well, do you know so and so from North Carolina?" "Oh, yeah, I know that person. Well, I grew up showing with that person. We actually went to the same college, and now we're in the same grad program. How do you know her?" "Well, we grew up showing Herefords together at the Hereford Junior Nationals. We made that connection through our leadership organizations that we do, or leadership workshops that we do through Herefords. And I think that person is just a class act. They're so fun." And then I think just, continuing to bounce, things like that. "Well, did you know so and so was actually going to be the person here," or whatever. Just having the ability to bounce questions off of each other that happen organically to me is how I would label an authentic, genuine conversation.
Yeah, and as a college student, that's still learning to be okay with like walking up to someone's booth and asking a billion questions about it. It seriously does get easier every single time.
Yeah.
And I, s- I see it to be easier with like kind of like the younger salesmen, like your age, because there we definitely have a lot more in common. But I feel like I'm not going to say better advice. That makes you sound bad, but
No, yeah.
I get different advice from like the older salesman who's been there for a while and they've had a ton
The
of
experienced
experiences.
salesman.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, for sure. But going to trade shows and stuff is one of my favorite things to do throughout the
Hmm.
year.
Yeah.
Just so I can talk to all these different people from different industries and
Hmm.
backgrounds and states. Um, I kind of want to switch gears here. I know you're 24 and you've been out of college for a little over 2 years now. What was the transition like from graduating college to being an adult with like no winter break and no finals to worry about? How was that like for you?
Oh gosh. Um, I think I talk about the transition from college to a full-time career at least 5 times a month to not only current students, but my peers as well. Candidly, it's tough. They don't teach you in college what your first year out of college is like, and good, bad, and different. I don't know. But I know my first year was tough, and I thought I was the only one that struggled with it. But I had a group of friends that graduated right around the same time that I did, and towards the end of the year, we kind of got together and we're like, "Hey, we are struggling. Life is hard. Adulting is a hoax. Um, when you're young, you're just wishing to grow older and older and older. You're in elementary school. Man, I can't wait to get to middle school. Middle school, can't wait to get to high school. Oh my gosh, I'm looking forward to college, leaving my town, getting to meet new people. You get to college. Man, I think I really like it. But I don't have a job to continue to pay for school. I'm gonna have to graduate and get a real job. Well, you become an adult and find a career that you're into, and you're like, man, I shouldn't have taken those days for granted. I shouldn't have wished them away. I wish I was more in the moment, and I wish I took more opportunities. And although I love my job right now, and I love the company I work for, I love my teammates and my colleagues, and really enjoy connecting with them, Um, the transition was really hard, but I was very fortunate enough to be on a team that was full of experienced salesmen. I would say the average tenure on my team when I first joined it was maybe 25 years
Wow.
of a team of 10, maybe. So to have their support in any and everything that I had questions about made the transition that much easier, and a very supportive manager and a manager who if I was struggling with something, he would sit me down and say, "Hey, like, what are you struggling with? Let me walk you through it, and let's let's figure it out." And since then, it took me about, I would say, 11 months for me to be like, "Okay, I got this figured out." Because again, you're going from, at least in my role as a sales role, I make my own schedule. I go from my college advisor making my weekly schedule, my semester schedule, to I make my own schedule now and I have to figure it out myself. I would say that was probably the biggest change or biggest difference for me. And I would probably say likewise for some of my other friends that experienced the same, I guess, hardship right out of college.
Yeah, it's kind of like a looming fear that I have. I'm a junior and I'll be done not this spring but next. And I constantly I'm thinking about, all right, well, what am I looking for in an employer because I know this is going to be rough. Um and I'm like, "Oh my gosh, taxes. Oh my gosh, I'm not going to have school to worry about." And
Yeah.
they really don't teach you that in
Yeah.
college. Like, I have a really good relationship with one of my professors, and she's already warned me it's going to be tough. Um, so definitely, I believe I want to have like a good group of friends that's kind of going through the same thing. We can kind of lean on each other, but it's also really important to me as someone who's going to be going into the workforce for the first time, to have like that good team and good manager who understands that it's a tough transition. And I'm
Hmm.
sure being able to make your own schedule was difficult for you and being in that kind of lenient position straight out of school where everything was pretty strict.
Yes. Yes. And like I said, that was probably the biggest challenge for me was setting up my own schedule and staying disciplined enough to realize that, hey, you're not going into an office every day. You have to you have to be the one to make that initial contact with your customers, and you have to be the one that builds those relationships. And I think that's what has allowed me to enjoy my role so much because every day is different, and I get to meet so many different new people. And although I'm not from the Southeast Oklahoma, Northeast Texas region, folks have been just so incredibly welcoming when they're able to make that initial contact with me. And to me, um, I try to be as genuine, as authentic as possible because I don't want to come off as a salesman. I want to be a trusted partner that they can come to if they ever run into any issues.
Yeah, sales is kind of a tough spot. My dad owns a wholesale fencing company, like, and we cover the southeast because the few times I've been out west, I've noticed that you guys do livestock fencing way different than we do over here. Um, And so sales, I kind of grew up in it, grew up, learning what happens in trade shows and stuff like that. It's it's very interesting to come across different types of salesmen. Like, you kind of have your typical like car salesman, they just want you to buy at the highest number. And then my favorite type of salesmen are the ones who are really personable. And it seems like
Mhm.
you really are. And I can only imagine like how good of a job you do in connecting with those producers and things like that. When someone is looking for a career where you just don't walk into an office every day and you're looking for a job where you have like a different task each week or every day and you get to travel, is sales kind of the place to go, or would there be like another path they could take?
I guess it's different for everyone, I would say, and every company. Probably the most realistic thing would be sales that is the way to go. Or, at my company, we've got customer success uh, reps, is what we call them. And those folks travel a lot. They don't deal a lot with numbers or selling a product. They're the ones that show up after the salesmen come in and they sell the product. They go in and help set it up and help train the customers on their new product. So I would say if you're someone that doesn't want to be thought of as a salesman, doing a customer success role or customer specialist role, whatever it is, um, I would say is something that you could do, or post sales is what a lot of people call it, just to ensure the success of that customer and whatever product that they're implementing into their operation.
Yeah, for sure. I think that's a pretty good spot to wrap up. We're kind of hitting like the 45-minute mark. That's kind of where I like to wrap up things.
Hmm.
We've covered a lot today:
Hmm.
networking, sales, and school and adulting, and we really covered all the bases. It was great chatting with you. Thank you for taking the time to chat with us today. I'll be sure to link your contact information in the what's it called? The bottom of this episode. So if people have any questions, I'm sure you'd be welcome to answer them.
Yes. Well, thank you very much, Lydia. Appreciate it. And good luck to you and your officer team the rest of the year.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Thanks for tuning in to The Actual Story. Be sure to subscribe and share so you never miss an episode. Until next time, keep telling agriculture's actual story.